Its normal service resumes for the Mercedes boys as they win their 4th consecutive Constructors World Championship. Very, very impressive from the boys from Brackley. So that's now championship, that's now wrapped up, that's now finished. Our attention now turns to the Drivers' Championship, where it is a very close one-horse battle, I must admit. I mean, Lewis Hamilton's got one hand on the trophy, quite literally, as he's only, I would say, a 5th place finish away from winning the championship, despite where Sebastian Vettel finishes. That's all he has to do, 5th place or higher. Podium, doesn't matter where you finish, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th, he can finish 2 positions outside the podium. He can go for a nice Sunday drive in the hot sun at Mexico and still win the World Championship. It's very, very easy. He is going to do it at some point, so I would pretty much say that Lewis Hamilton is now a 4-time world champion. Very, very impressive stuff. But obviously, that's for the race. We're now going to preview the Grand Prix. And obviously, when we always preview on the GP preview show, we always like to do our predictions, our top 3. Now, we always like to hear your predictions: top 3, top 5, top 10, even the full shebang, top 20. If you want to go all out, go for it. Let's say if you know much about Formula 1 and more about it than what we do, which actually isn't that much. So you should do quite well. So my predictions, I'm going to go from 3rd to 1st, as always, just to keep the suspense there, in case you don't know who I've got on P1. Everyone does. In P1, I've gone with Max Verstappen. Now, this boy has been in the media for, yet again, for, let's just say, another reason what happened a year ago. However, we're not going to mention that at all in the GP preview show. We are going to wait till episode 76. I forgot what episode that was there. Episode 76. Make sure that you check that out on Saturday, where we are going to go into try and go into full depth about, and obviously just basically talk about the race, talk about that situation and what we think. Was it right or was it wrong? Make sure that you stay tuned for that, because that's going to be a very good episode, I admit. So I've gone Max Verstappen in P3. Very good driver. He's had a very tough start of the season. Now he's come off leaps and bounds. Obviously a couple of podiums here and there. He's looking like the old Max Verstappen from last season. I think he's going to have a good Grand Prix this weekend. He did last season, kind of. So hopefully he can go. Hopefully he can have another nice. Hopefully, let's just say county podium this weekend in Mexico. In P2, I've gone with Sebastian Vettel. Now he knows he's lost the World Championship, which is very, very disappointing, and it's a real shame to see Ferrari crumble like this, unfortunately, because we were all hoping that it was going to be a Vettel-Hamilton battle right till the end. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, because Hamilton is going to win the championship this weekend, as I've already said. So I think Vettel will fight to the bitter end, but he does know that his championship it's gone. I know fine well he will say in an interview we still have a chance. Yeah, we've got more chance of making it into the world of Formula 1 than what Sebastian Vettel does in winning that World Championship. So I obviously P2, I think that's the best Ferrari and Vettel can ask for. And obviously in P1, I've gone with the wonderful driver in Stoffel Van Dorn. He's had an absolutely incredible career, incredible start to his Formula 1 career so far. He's doing. I don't know what you're laughing at. I'm being serious. Obviously I'm only kidding, of course. Maybe next year, Stoffel. Maybe next year. But obviously, Lewis Hamilton. He's going to win the championship. He's going to win the Grand Prix. Nothing is going to stop him. Maybe. Look what happened in Spain 2016. Who knows? But no, I can't see that happening anytime soon. So I think Hamilton's going to win the Grand Prix. He's going to run away with it. Pole position. 73. He's going to get 73 poles. 63 career wins. He is unstoppable right now. That's my top 3. Max Verstappen in P3, Sebastian Vettel in P2, and Lewis Hamilton in P1. Lyle, I'm going to hand over to you. What's your top 3 and explain why?
Well, yes, very good top 3. Yeah, really, really good. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, we are at the position, I can't believe we're at the position where he's probably going to win the World Championship in this race. It really is really, really strange as well. Obviously, we'd all loved it to be in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, the curtain closer on Formula 1, but obviously, it doesn't really matter really. I mean, obviously, we're going to see out the rest of the race. We're going to see out the rest of the races. Obviously, Mercedes are Constructors World Champions, and Lewis Hamilton will probably be champion in this race. Obviously, especially if John's predictions are right. Anyway, so I'm going to jump into my predictions for the race, and in 3rd place, I'm going to go for Daniel Ricciardo. Now, USA was unbelievably. It was heartbreaking. Because obviously the retired Red Bull retirement isn't great, but he was very excited about this race beforehand, building it up, loves the States, loves driving it. I mean, Red Bull had a really, really good chance around this circuit. Max Verstappen also doing a really, really good fight as well with obviously the two Ferraris, trying to gain what he could in this race. Obviously he took the lead when all the pit stops were going on, obviously made his tyres last really, really well, obviously just couldn't hold on at the last minute, obviously as John said, the controversy, but we're going to go into that in more detail in the DS, obviously later on this week. But on the other side of the spectrum, if Daniel Ricciardo had stayed in the race, it would have been fantastic from him. Bit of a shame really, but yeah, I'm going to say third place from him. Then in second place, I'm going to go for Max Verstappen. Okay, so like Jordan, I'm going to have him on the podium, and like him also probably it's because the circuit in Mexico is really, it's a Red Bull orientated track. I mean obviously you have that long straight at the start, then after that it's really curvy, it's really windy, it's really technical. Like the USA, you have sector 2 coming into sector 3, it's like the S's, really fast, really bendy, really curvy, really fast flowing, and that's what Red Bull really love. They love those aerodynamical tracks. To be honest, it's a little bit like Baku, which obviously, as you know, is where Daniel Ricciardo took his victory, his one and only victory this year. So obviously Ricciardo in third, Verstappen in second, and of course I'm going to say Pierre Gasly in first position. I mean, he's had a good start, he's had a good few races with Toro Rosso. Really loving what I'm seeing from this guy. We backed him really big in Formula 2, and I can see you're not laughing because it's true. Obviously Stoffel Van Dorn and Pierre Gasly are going to have a big fight at the top, and yes, I am of course only joking. It's going to be Lewis Hamilton. Unstoppable force. He really is an unstoppable force at the moment. He's been having some unbelievable races now. He's in his element. USA, I mean, 5 times winners. He is now the most successful driver at the US Grand Prix that they've had in the past. Really loves this track. Extended his lead also. Didn't get the World Championship that he wanted, obviously, because Seb was riding his coattails really, really behind him all the way. But, I mean, honestly, it's inevitable that he's going to win it in this race, especially as me and John say that he wins the race. All he has to do, as John said again, all he has to do is finish second or third or fourth or fifth. And for Lewis Hamilton, when has he ever finished 5th place? Like, that's just not in his blood, especially if he finishes the race, obviously, when Mercedes, so reliable, and they, the chances of them not finishing this race are almost a chance of, like, I'm trying to think of something like, maybe Stoffel Van Dorn winning the World Championship. I don't know, but you know what I mean? It's like...
Or maybe Lyle being good at hosting the F1 debate show.
Right, I'm off. Okay, thank you. I'm off. No, I can't stand for that. Maybe the F1 debate show being good, but I mean, obviously that'll happen. But yeah, so as the F1 debate show gets better and gets popular, Lewis Hamilton wins number 4, and obviously that will happen. And again, I mean, they're living off the ecstasy that they've just won the constructors, because again, obviously that's going to add so much, like that's kind of really going to push him in the right direction. Him and Valtteri also. I mean, Valtteri should have a good race also as well. The USA wasn't great for him. I think I had him very high in my predictions. He's had a few races where he's been slipping off the pace, but again, he might have a good race because of this. He was in championship contention, 3rd place. I mean, he's going to see out the rest of the year in 3rd place, which I'm really, really happy with. And obviously, as I say, just winning the constructors, it's going to be such a big gain for him. Hopefully, Seb has a good race also, maybe a 4th place or something like that. But I mean, he even knows that anything that isn't, he can do anything in this race. He can finish 1st place. He can finish with about 5 minutes over 2nd place. But if Lewis finishes between 2nd to 5th, he won't win the World Championship, which is a bit of a shame. And also on that note, I think because of just, for example, the pace we saw between Mercedes and Ferrari in the US Grand Prix, it's just, I don't think Ferrari are going to make it on the podium in this race. I just don't think the circuit really it revolves around them. Obviously, Mercedes have been dominant all years since it's come back in 2015 as well. Obviously, with Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. So I think they'll love this circuit. Ferrari just won't do as well, and obviously, again, the kind of the dread will be hanging over Sebastian Vettel, and his favourite word, honestly, will be chucked around, because honestly, Ferrari and Seb, they've now lost. I mean, Ferrari have lost the constructors, but now Seb's like, I don't know, I think everything's now hitting him that when we came into the summer break, Jordan, that he had the World Championship in the bag almost. It was actually looking like he was going back to Germany for the 5th time in his career, and then now it's gone south so fast. But yes, anyway, that's my prediction. Anyway, so obviously 2 Red Bulls on the podium. It's going to be fantastic for them. And then obviously Lewis Hamilton takes victory and also takes the World Championship for the 4th time in his career. So there we go. There are my top 3 for the Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, I would say that's a very fair prediction. Obviously, both Red Bulls on the podium. That is actually highly possible now. I think if you had made that prediction probably about 4 or 5 races ago, I would have been like, oh man, Lyle, come on. I thought you were smarter than that. But obviously now Red Bull, obviously, you know, having the pace where, you know, pretty much where has this pace come from? Essentially, you know what I mean. They should have had this at the start of the season, but maybe this is a sign for things to come. Now, obviously, we all know that the World Championship is now pretty much, you know, done and dusted, essentially, you know, pretty much, anyway, mathematically it's not. But I'll tell you what isn't over with is Fry the Grid. Now, this is becoming ultra tight, guys. Obviously, we keep saying that every single week, but it really, really is. There's now only 1.5 points in it after the US Grand Prix. Obviously, Lyle scoring the 4 points, takes it out to 46.5. Mine, I'm only on 45 points, so obviously very, you know, very, very close in here anyways. But anyways, my turn for the Mexican Grand Prix for Friday Grid. How much do I know about Mexico? A relatively new Grand Prix? Do I know what happened before 2015? Well, let's find out. Anyways, here's my Friday the Grid for the Mexican Grand Prix. Hello, this is Jordan for Friday the Grid for the Mexican Grand Prix. So get your sombreros on, get your churritos, and let's get on with it.
Okay, question uno. Who had the fastest lap in the Mexican Grand Prix, the overall fastest lap?
Oh, I am going to say, I don't know, I've got a funny feeling it was Nico Rosberg.
That's correct.
Yes.
What year was that?
2016.
2015.
Ah! 1 year out. Was one of them, I know that.
Question 2. To the nearest K, how long is the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez?
I'm going to say 4.
In Spanish, please.
4, no.
I'm afraid that's not, yes, it is. It's 4. Question 3. In 2016, there was a kerfuffle with third place. What drivers were in that kerfuffle?
Right, so first of all, it was... even now I'm getting kerfuffle now. Was it Max Verstappen was in 3rd place? Then it was Sebastian Vettel. Then it was Daniel Ricciardo.
That's it. Well done.
Yes.
Question 4. How many run-ins of the Mexican Grand Prix has there been, Formula 1?
Right, so obviously you've got your 2 in 2015 and 2016. Then you had your one in 1992, which was the last one, which Nigel Mansell won because the first corner is named after him, or one of the corners is named after him. How many more was that before that? I don't know. So that's 3, so it's 3 or more, obviously.
Guess.
I'll say about 10.
18.
Ah, didn't know that.
Question 5. Who is the most successful driver in Mexico?
Right. I don't know. This will be won't be a Monday driver. I'll say Nigel Mansell.
Who is your idol?
Oh, I wasn't.
And I remember you cocked up on a Jim Clark question for, I think it was Austria.
For Britain, I did. Jimmy.
Jimmy. This question 6. The Peralta corner was named after a Formula 1 driver. Who was that?
Have I already said his name?
I don't know.
I'll say Nigel Mansell.
That is correct. Question 7. How many Mexican Formula 1 drivers has there been?
I think there's only been 2.
5.
5?
And that's Formula 1. 5 Formula 1 Mexican Grand Prix drivers.
I know you had Rodriguez, which is the track's named after him.
The twos. 2 of them.
Oh, wait there. Perez and Esteban Gutierrez.
Yep, and then obviously somebody else. Question 8. What is the capacity to the nearest 10,000?
Oh, God. 90,000?
110,000.
Not bad.
Now, question 8, we're going to go upstate to our Yankee brothers, okay? So, the amazing sport of NASCAR has been run at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Has IndyCar?
I'm going to say yes.
And question 10, what is the stadium used for when it's not Formula 1?
It is used for baseball.
That is correct. You got Cinco out of decent. Right.
Right. I mean, I'm on a roll with these 5s, I must say.
or cinco's, if you want to relate to Mexican, Spanish. But no, I think I'm doing quite well. Very, proud of myself. Obviously next round is the penultimate round of Fry the Grid, so it is getting very, very intense, guys. I must admit. But
I tell you what, if you can say back to the studio in Spanish, I'm going to give you $1 billion points.
I don't know.
And you can win right now.
Oh my God! What is that? I don't know.
No,
back to the studio.
English.
I'm going to say back to the studio, and I'm going to go watch the football. Only if the football was on.
5 points, Jordan, that is quite good. Now you go up to 50 points. I'm still on 46.5, so you go 3.5 points clear of me. The next round, and I can't believe I'm saying this already, and this actually stands for the drivers as well, is the penultimate round in Galles, the Brazilian Grand Prix, and then obviously the final round is in Abu Dhabi. And also this is my final, Brazil is my final chance to try and take the crown, to try and take the lead off Jordan. It's looking quite good for you, isn't it? Because I see you're in the lead, and then you have one more chance to take close the season and obviously get more points on the board in Abu Dhabi. So it's looking good for you. But I mean, as I say, I'm gonna come for you. This is Friday Grid. This is a big thing. It's bigger than the F1 Drivers' Championship, whatever they're talking about.
That's literally all wrapped up. That's now done and dusted. Fry the Grid isn't. Fry the Grid is actually going down to the wire, which is how a championship should be going, guys. Of course, but obviously, if you are loving Fry the Grid, please like this video as well. Obviously, comment underneath if you are loving Fry the Grid, if you are enjoying the series, and if you are new around here and you don't know what Fry the Grid is, go all the way back to March. Watch the first Fry the Grid, and then just watch every single GP preview show, so that you'll be fully up to date as to what is going on in terms of Fry the Grid. But anyways, Fry the Grid is over with. I'm now 3.5 points ahead of Lyle. Now, this is part of the show where we just basically talk about anything that's like related to the Grand Prix, or if there is nothing really happening in the news related to the Grand Prix, we just sort of, just mention things here and there, or just, crop things up from the ground. And this weekend, at the next Grand Prix, Toro Rosso have changed the drivers yet again, guys. I'm just really confused as to what the hell's going on with this team. They had a very stable two-driver system with Daniil Kvyat and Carlos Sainz. It's then went from Daniil Kvyat to Pierre Gasly, from Gasly not racing in Super Formula, if you remember, because the race got cancelled. Hartley came in alongside Daniil Kvyat. He came back. And now Daniil Kvyat has been dropped yet again, guys. It was announced on Monday night that Daniil Kvyat would be dropped yet again, and Brendon Hartley is going to be racing this weekend, which in a way I'm quite happy about, because I like Brendon Hartley. I thought he was a very nice chap. I thought he was very friendly. He seemed like a good driver. He didn't disappoint. I thought he was going to be stone dead last. No, I think he finished P13 or 14. I'm not too sure, but he had a very, very strong qualifying session. He had a very strong Grand Prix. That endurance racing very much paid off, and he's going to be partnered alongside Super Formula runner-up in Pierre Gasly. Obviously not very happy that the race got cancelled. I was rather disappointed about that. I thought Gasly was going to go on to win it, but unfortunately, that's just the way it goes in the world of Formula 1. But luckily that they did cancel it because of the typhoon. Obviously, we've seen what happened back in 2014 when they didn't cancel it. So obviously, luckily for them, they got out of it, unharmed. But the reason I want to talk about this was because who the hell is going to be at Toro Rosso next season? Because everyone thought Gasly was going to be there alongside Daniil Kvyat. Now, that could literally just change itself. Brendon Hartley could have a very good chance of being in that car next season from nowhere, really. And I was aware of this guy, but I didn't know he was part of the RedBull Junior program back in 2010. He left then, obviously, because he said that he was too young, he wasn't ready for Formula 1, so he went off to do endurance racing, which he's made a very good career out of. As I said, he won the Le Mans this season with Porsche, partnered alongside F1 race winner, I was going to say world champion there, race winner, and pundit that swears on live TV, Mark Webber. Obviously, if you haven't seen that, it was actually pretty funny as well, what Mark Webber did. But anyways, I think Brendon Hartley, very good driver, very, very strong, partnered alongside Pierre Gasly. That could be the partnership for next season. But then again, Daniil Kvyat still might have a chance of taking that seat. He did get P10, scoring his first point, I think, since Spain or Monaco. Obviously for the team as well, which has been a very, very long wait. He said that this weekend was his best weekend he's had in a Toro Rosso this season, and they're going to drop him again. So I would say I'll be very, very disappointed if I was Daniil Kvyat. But for me, what Toro Rosso have now in Brendon Hartley and Pierre Gasly is a very, very good combination. I think they're going to have a very strong weekend. Maybe score a point or two, perhaps. Maybe Q2, maybe even one Q3 appearance. Next season is going to be a very confusing summer or winter, I should say, in terms of who's going to be in that seat. But I think Toro Rosso have their team right now in Carlos Sainz, Brendon Hartley, and Pierre Gasly. I'm just getting so confused as to who's going where. So, Lyle, let's bring you into this. So, obviously, Brendon Hartley has just been announced that he's going to be replacing Daniil Kvyat yet again or shall I say, staying for Toro Rosso for the Mexican Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly is coming in to replace Daniil Kvyat for this weekend. Obviously, just for this weekend to be confirmed. Next weekend, it could be, I don't know, Gasly and probably Kvyat. It could be Kvyat and Hartley. It could be Hartley and Kvyat. I really don't know what the hell's going on. But Lyle, what do you think of this situation? Are you happy that Hartley's back, or do you think that no, I want Kvyat? I think they're being a bit too harsh on him. What do you think about the situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, when Kvyat, obviously Kvyat, we all know what happened to Daniil Kvyat, when he's been in Formula 1, he's come down from RedBull Racing. Last year, around the US Grand Prix, obviously, it was really tight again who was going to take the seat. He finally got the seat, obviously, with Carlos Sainz from last year, obviously heading into this year. So it was all like, thankfully, Daniil Kvyat actually got something, going for him this year. He's had an okay season. Obviously, he's had, a bit like bumps here and there, obviously, a few retirements. Obviously, he famously collided with his teammate in Silverstone also. So, Daniil Kvyat, he's an okay driver, a bit like Jolyon Palmer, things here and there and everywhere. But, I think this race was quite good for Daniil Kvyat because also he was the leader of the team. He was leader of Toro Rosso, which, to be honest, he hasn't been a leader in Formula 1 ever, because obviously he's been behind Carlos Sainz when he was at Toro Rosso the first time. Obviously he was with Daniel Ricciardo when he was with Red Bull in 2015, obviously the start of 2016, and then obviously he was back with Carlos Sainz. And even though Danny's come down from Red Bull, Carlos had been integrated into the team and he was the leader. So this has been the first time that Danny's become the actual leader of the team. He led over Brendon, really, really strong from him. And as you said, John, good race from him. Brendon Hartley also, good result from him. Obviously, the young New Zealand driver, well, not young, but obviously experienced in racing, young in Formula 1. Really good, promising drive from him also, and I think to get this drive is really, really good from him. And then Pierre Gasly, obviously really strong talent. He was in Formula 1 before. He was at the most recent Grand Prix before the USA as well. They wanted him in Formula 1. They couldn't get it because of the race. They didn't know what would happen, obviously, because of the weather. And so he came back. But there was a lot of people wanting that seat. In Daniil Kvyat's mind, I am a little bit disheartened because I'm not living off the trading places. I'm not thinking that because of the trading places, Danny should be immune from everything that's going on. But to think that he's had one race that, as I said, he was the leader of the team. He had a good position. I think he had a good strong weekend. He had a good strong focus. He was ready for this, and I think he was going to go on and do good things. I think just to be kind of kicked out of this race, it kind of throws a little bit of a curveball into what's happening with Kvyat's future. Those two drivers have only been confirmed for this race. It hasn't been confirmed that they're going to be racing in Brazil or in Abu Dhabi or obviously for the 2018 season. So Kvyat's still in a shot. In my mind is that the team are going to be interchanging these drivers like light bulbs on a bad day. Bren one day, Pierre the other day, Kvyat one day. They're just going to be all over. The three drivers fighting over two seat, and you would think that Danny has a bit more of an upper hand because he's still in that seat at this time. And Brendon and Pierre are the new guys that are trying to get that seat, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like they're both going to have to fight. That is my guess, that for Brazil, for example, obviously depending on how it goes in Mexico, but for Brazil, for example, the team are going to swap them around again, obviously hoping that those two drivers in Brendon and Pierre, obviously two rookies in Formula 1, they do a good position. If they don't, Kvyat might be back in, or if they do, Kvyat might be gone. So it is really tense, and it's quite strange down at Toro Rosso, John. What is happening between those three drivers. It's almost like they're trying to find a balance because Carlos Sainz has gone, and I don't know, maybe they're jealous of trying to get him back into the team. But so moving off Toro Rosso for a bit, and obviously moving into some really positive news. Well, positive for Formula 1, obviously positive for this team, is the 4-time World Constructors Champions Mercedes. Now, really, really fantastic from them. It was kind of inevitable that they would take at least something in the USA, whether it be the drivers or whether it be the constructors. Lewis Hamilton was really, really proud. Obviously, as I say, 5-time winner of this track, most successful. He won here in 2012. One of my favourite races by Lewis Hamilton, and obviously his most recent win with his last win with McLaren. He won his Drivers' Championship here in 2015 also, and obviously the 2016 constructors and the 2017 constructors are normally taken around this time. Good few races before the end. Really, when Mercedes fly in and just say to the competition, no, you've had your fun, but we are going to take it from the start. Really great performance all the way through the season. I think they've led every single race, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe since the first one, when obviously Sebastian Vettel won the race in Australia. But really, really fantastic from them. Taken in the USA, really, really strong. 575 points, almost 150 over Ferrari, and obviously taking 35 points away in the USA is really fantastic from them. 4 times this team has done it, and really the rising from the ashes team that they are since 2010, obviously when they came back into Formula 1, it really is just such a shock. They are basically, you look at Mercedes some days and you think to yourself, they haven't been in Formula 1 for that long. They are kind of a new mechanical team, and everything works in them. They can get the car right, they can get the pace right. And I remember Japan, for example. The USA was great, but I remember for Japan, for example, the pace of those cars, the pace that Lewis Hamilton was churning out of that car was honestly, it was to another world. And obviously, he took the fastest qualifying lap time, the fastest time. One lap time that had been set around Suzuka. He absolutely smashed that record from probably around the mid-2000s, like obviously many of the tracks are. Really great from Mercedes. The championship is done and dusted now. Obviously four times. I forgot what their slogan was. It was something like for the team, I think it was, obviously with the number 4. For the 4 times. Yeah, 4 times that they won it for the team. Unbelievable, obviously fantastic for the people batting Brackley, who obviously have been working in the car all the time. Obviously they're based in Germany as well, and obviously all the guys who fly around with the team for the races. So that's all done and dusted, but they're 2 drivers that they're going to have on board. Valtteri Bottas, good race from him in the USA. 5th position, good from him. It was a good fight, obviously, evading the Ferraris, the Red Bulls, obviously good fighting from him, but obviously he wants to be a lot higher. As I said, he's had a few races where he hasn't been on the button that he wanted to be. Obviously Lewis Hamilton, just an unstoppable force, and yeah, I've set him to win in the Mexican Grand Prix. Mercedes are just, there's not much to say really, other than they're looking like they're going to be taking points again. Pointless now because they've already won the constructors, but they're just a formidable form. And I'll tell you something else, just one last thing on Mercedes. Nico Rosberg, obviously the guy who he started winning he won the Mexico, Brazilian and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2015, then obviously rolled into 2016, did 4 in there, and obviously got to 7 in match Michael Schumacher. So if Lewis Hamilton wants to do that, because he's won obviously the last few races, he could do that and have to give himself more of a springboard in 2018. But Mercedes, Jordan, there isn't much to say on that subject, but just one more time and 4 times from the almost famously what I said last year, which is one more time from the team from Brackley, and then obviously it's Mercedes, isn't it? They've won yet again 4 times. It's honestly a big shock, isn't it?
I think it's very, very difficult to win one constructors' title. So it doesn't matter who you are. To win that, it's a very special achievement. You've worked hard all year to earn that, kind of like a star, that trophy. But to win it 4 times on the bounce, it's almost really, really incredible. It's almost like a Red Bull story all over again. When Red Bull came to the sport, they were like a midfield mediocre team. When all of a sudden the regulations changed and Red Bull were up there winning everything. So exactly the same with Mercedes. Mercedes, midfield mediocre team, just 5th place there, a couple of podiums. Regulations change, bang, and they were here. And I think they are here to stay for a long, long time, because the regulations aren't going to be any different to this season to next season. However, there is going to be 3 engine limit next season, so that's going to be something that Mercedes will have to keep an eye on. Maybe might get more penalties as well. And also, guys, reliability on Mercedes, as far as I'm aware, they've only had 1 DNF because of a technical fault, and that was Valtteri Bottas back at the Spanish Grand Prix, obviously back in May. Now that is impressive, to have 1 retirement throughout the entirety of the season. How incredible is that? Lewis Hamilton winning races left, right and centre, breaking records. What a move it was for him to go from McLaren to Mercedes. Everyone called him absolutely mental. Now look where he is. Record pole position holder. Could become beat Michael Schumacher's 91 race winning record. On this current form, guys, on the pace, give it a couple of seasons, I think he will actually do it. 4 World Championships, many more to come, indeed. He sat on the front row more times than anybody else. I think it was 118 times, 119 times this weekend. Just beating Michael Schumacher again by 1. All these records is just coming in Lewis Hamilton's favour. Mercedes have allowed him to show off his skills and become one of the best F1 drivers, not only of the modern era but of all time. It's honestly what a world of Formula 1, a world of Formula 1 that we are living in right now. I'm not really a big fan of Mercedes. Obviously, I'd rather support McLaren. Hopefully that they'll be back there one day. However, it is almost very, very incredible to see. We all slip Mercedes, but you can't deny how impressive they have been in terms of reliability, in terms of where they've came from, coming into Formula 1, from nothing really, and to win 4 times on the bounce. It looks like it is going to be a four consecutive drivers' world title. Honestly, what an absolutely incredible achievement as well. But obviously, just before we end the episode, I just want to give a shout out, not to anyone, but I say a shout out, but a mention to Sergio Perez. Now, we did mention him last season in the Mexican Grand Prix preview, obviously when it was called the preview show, not when it was called a preview episode, not the preview show. Obviously, home race. How do you think, Lyle? Obviously, just before we end, how do you think Perez is going to do at his home Grand Prix? Because I think he's got a very, very incredible car. He's got Esteban Ocon as a teammate who might be, holding him back a bit. But would you say, right? Here's a question for you: do you think Sergio Perez will get on the podium this weekend because of the pace of the car and because of the support? What do you think?
I think this is his best chance. Yeah, of course, I agree. I don't think he's going to do it, only because obviously of all the drivers who are going to get on the podium, if that makes sense. All the battling that he's going to have to do. But if he's going to have a chance, this is definitely his chance because he has so much support. I mean, Mexico really is unbelievable. I mean, some of the drivers have said that baseball section, for example, is just something that they haven't seen. A lot of places. I mean, some places have some great support, but that baseball stadium, that they drive into, where the podium is, also, it gives the fans an unbelievable perspective, but it also gives the drivers a great view as well. He has a whole country behind him. It really doesn't. I remember obviously last year as well. Obviously, we're not a political channel, but when for things like the US election was getting on, and obviously America were having a little bit of a dispute with Mexico, and obviously they were looking at Sergio Perez as a little bit of like a sporting ambassador, and he was coming up on these posts and things like that. So again, they were really behind him at that point. Obviously, he was in loads of interviews last year, behind obviously supporting Mexico, getting Mexico basically to the good sporting days that they, I want to say once were, but they always have been really, and made Mexico really a Formula 1 statement, because that was that track's always meant to do. And as you said, John, at the start, with 2015, obviously, I had the sombreros on the podium and all all the celebrations. That's what Mexico wanted to do. They want to make it a track that everyone remembers and everyone loves to come to. So I think Sergio was doing a great job at basically just promoting the circuit. This is his best chance of getting on the podium, yeah. And also, I think, like many home race drivers, when it gets to that stage in the season, I think the team will basically say to Sergio, well, kind of take the child safety support off and go, right, okay, I'm going to let you just go out, just basically, obviously, keep a cool head, don't crash into Esteban, don't, put yourself at risk or whatever, because obviously we still need those points in the constructors, and obviously for you and the drivers, but it's your home race, just go out there, all guns blazing, and basically, as you said, best chance to get on the podium, get some great points, get a great position, and basically do Mexico proud. So it is really good, obviously, being the only man from the team, also being the only man on the podium, the only man on the grid, who's from that country, is fantastic from him. He will have a great race, as you say. Fortunately, also should be, they're the home team to support, obviously, Esteban, Sergio being from Mexico. Also this weekend, Sebastian Vettel, keep a cool head because of obviously what happened last year in Mexico. Running your mouth to Charlie Whiting didn't help very much. And obviously, again, you've been in trouble before with the brake testing this year, so keep a cool head. Hopefully, we can have an entertaining race like we did. Hopefully, there's no undercut moves like they did with the stewards or anything like that. And also, one last thing that I wanted to say, because obviously I wasn't here for the most recent F1 debate, when we talked about Fernando Alonso staying, is he crazy? Because he's actually going to go with McLaren for yet another season and put up with this headache and this drama. Honestly, I don't know what goes through the mind of Fernando Alonso. I don't know what makes him tick, but honestly, as Sebastian Vettel would say, John, why do you think he stayed? Because honestly, I saw that move and I was like, you have to be nuts. Fernando Alonso to do another year. I mean, I know you're changing engines. I know you have another possibility, you know, of getting the team back to where they were. But honestly, are you crazy after all you've been through, after all the retirements, and after doing it again in the USA? And I mean, why is he doing? You know, is he crazy? He is crazy, isn't he? He's crazy to stay at McLaren for another season, isn't he?
Yes, I think he's smart, because obviously, if it was a Honda in the back of that McLaren next season, he wouldn't have stayed. He would have went off to pastures new, because it's a Renault, and Renault obviously they've won 2 races this season. Renault is more than capable of, you know, putting the McLaren on the podium. I know fine well they are. So obviously, Alonso must see something in that for him to stay, because, you know, if he was looking at, like, you know, the analysis and looking at everything that Renault has to offer, he can go, right, this isn't for me. I can't see us winning anytime soon. So obviously, he can see potential in, in McLaren Renault, and even other drivers are saying that McLaren might be a dominant force. Not so much a dominant force, but I want to watch next season. And I think Alonso. I don't know how long, as I said, I don't know how long this contract is, but I think he is being smart about this. He's not like just saying, right, it's all McLaren's fault. It was pretty much all Honda's fault. McLaren had the chassis and everything. It was just Honda didn't provide the power. I think Renault is going to do that next season. I think Alonso will have a very, let's say, end of his career. I wouldn't. I'll probably say, right, risky. I would definitely say risky, because obviously you might waste yet another season like what he did this season, because we don't know how Renault's going to be. However, the reason he's staying is because Renault was in the back of that car, not a Honda. So I would say, obviously, I would say smart from Alonso, but let's see how he does for next season. But anyways, guys, this is where we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Please like this video as well. Subscribe if you're new around here. Nearly at 300. Very, very close. We're just that close from 300. It'll be very, very incredible to get 300 before the Mexican Grand Prix. We might have done before this video goes out. Who knows? But we are that close from getting 300 as well, guys. So if you can subscribe, very obviously, you know, very, very much appreciated as well. But obviously, make sure you check out episode 76 this coming Saturday, where we will be discussing throughout the entirety of the episode the Max Verstappen saga. Was it good? Was it bad? Was he supposed to be getting that penalty? Obviously, we're going to give our opinions as well. And obviously, we want to hear a lot of your opinions as well, guys, because there is a lot to say about that topic. But anyways, guys, we've been there for the debate show. And until next time, see you later.
See you later, guys.